Hello, and welcome to a bonus episode with the Legendarium Green Team's Malazan series. I'm Befuddled Panda, and I have with me JasnahAsABoy,
Hello.
Ashaman,
Yo.
and Hurinfan. When we started podcasting the series back in January 2021, we had a handful of listeners. Since then, we've gained quite a few more, and we realized we never really properly introduced ourselves. We just dove headfirst into Gardens of the Moon pretty much. So we thought it was probably time to do a little introduction of the panelists to help listeners get to know us a bit more as people. To start us off, I thought we would cover some basics. We also put out a call on the Legendarium's Discord and Twitter for listener questions. So here we go. First question. Where in the world are we located?
Everywhere.
Everywhere. I can start us off. So I don't think not all the listeners probably know that we're not located all in the same country even. We span 3 countries. Myself, Befuddled Panda, am located in the Pacific Northwest of the U.S.
And I'm in Northeast Tennessee, which is in the southeast of the United States.
I am in Chiba, Japan, just east of Tokyo.
Yeah, like a mere 9 time zones away. Doesn't make scheduling difficult at all. I live in Ottawa, Canada, and it is the province of Ontario. It's like 3 hours northwest-ish of New York City.
All right. So that's a little bit about where we're located. And across 3 countries, various time zones does make scheduling a bit difficult, but we've somehow managed to make it work so far. Okay, next question. We talk about fantasy and Malazan a lot. What other favorite authors or books do we like? Ashaman?
I like Malazan. And also, I'm a big fan of, deep, dark, and sad stuff. I like A Song of Ice and Fire. That's one of my more favorites. Big fan of Dresden Files, actually. That's probably the lightest series that I enjoy a lot. And, Lord of the Rings, a lot of the more standard fantasy you'd hear of these days. And I like also very hard sci-fi. Like, my favorite book of the year has so far been Blind Sight by Peter Watts. Highly recommend for any nerds who enjoy thinking about the philosophy of consciousness and whether it's all it's cracked up to be.
You're not going to say Wheel of Time?
Oh, yes. Yeah, Wheel of Time, sorry. I thought people would just figure that out from my username and,
If they made it to book 6.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Yep, nope. Haven't read that one. I'm probably the most eclectic reader, maybe aside from Huron of the group. I read very broadly. This year with Malazan is probably the most fantasy-heavy year of reading that I've had in quite a while. Typically, I'll span like contemporary thrillers, cozy mysteries, middle grades, historical fiction, some sci-fi. So I read a little bit of about everything. Some of the things that I've enjoyed recently that is not Malazan, I actually blanked. I can't answer that question right now. Maybe I'll think of something later. What about you, Huron?
I mostly read fantasy and sci-fi, but I really like to read classics just to keep myself, cultured, I suppose. I also read a lot of Japanese history, or even just old Japanese stories like 9th century poetry or like Bolt-chan or something like that.
Nice. You're probably more well-read than most of us.
I do read a lot.
What about you, Yesna?
Until very, very recently, like with starting the doing stuff with the Green Team more, I read a lot of political theory, history, economics, extensive study of the Chinese economy. But as far as fiction goes, and which is almost all I've been reading since I started doing Green Team stuff, is fiction. It's mostly grimdark fantasy and also like high epic, like heroic fantasy. So like Brandon Sanderson's Cosmere for high epic heroic fantasies, like my go-to gold standard besides Malazan, obviously. And Joe Abercrombie's work I really appreciate, especially after the first Law trilogy. And but in the First Law world. Lately, I've been trying to dig a little bit more into like the classics, particularly stuff that inspired Malazan. So right now I'm reading the Iliad. I intend to read Beowulf soon, and I want to eventually dip my toes into some sci-fi too, like the Culture series and stuff like that.
Oh, the Culture series is so good.
I read Beowulf, a new translation. I think it came out like 2020, and it's fantastic. It starts with like, "Hey, bro."
Very accessible. I like it.
Yeah. Is it like one of those, like new speak sort of translations, like when they did Shakespeare and Leet speak?
Oh my god.
Yes and no.
Oh,
It's more like interpreting Beowulf like in a feminist lens and viewing all of their machoism as just toxic masculinity, I suppose.
It's like less of a translation, more like a reinterpretation.
It's absolutely a translation. It's just check it out. It's fun.
I also like history, but I'm very into ancient cultures. My very favorite being Rome, but I also have several other areas of interest, like Napoleon, Revolutionary France. I want to get into some Bismarck stuff.
I like samurai history.
Samurai are cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Ashaman got me into Roman history, but so far it's podcasts, not reading.
There's so much, luckily, because everyone's obsessed with the Romans because they were so interesting.
I did think of what I have enjoyed more recently that's not Malazan. So after reading Memories of Ice, I needed something that was lighter, much lighter. And I went and chose Beach Read by Emily Henry, which turned out to be not as light as I was hoping for, but it was very well done. And it's contemporary romance. I recommend it, even if you're not into romance. It's got more than just the romance. And Murderbot. I love
Murderbot.
Yes. Great palate cleanser.
I agree. I'm a big fan of Terry Pratchett and Tolkien. Tolkien's my second favorite, but I love Terry Pratchett. His stuff is actually a lot like Malazan, in my opinion. It's not dark, but it's just as biting in its commentary, and it forces the reader to think.
Yeah, Terry Pratchett he was very concerned about the intricacies of human nature, like Stephen Erickson is. And you really do see that mirrored across tragedy and comedy. Both of those are very, very concerned with like what it means to be human, the tragedies of life, stuff like that.
But don't turn that off. It's really funny.
I know we've mentioned before that maybe we'll read at least one Discworld book in between our Malazan read along. So we should probably plan that for after House of Chains. Okay, moving on to our next question. How do we read? So I know we span all sorts of different formats across the four of us, but audio, physical, ebook, do you annotate? Do you just memorize everything in your brains? Hurin?
I'm typically reading at least 4 books at once. One on audio, one physical for the podcast, usually another one physical that's just for fun, and then ebook for just when I'm on the train or something, and finally physical and Japanese book.
Do you read like different genres at the same time, or you can read from the same genre and not get them mixed up?
Yeah, I've done both.
Jasnah?
I have a lot more time to read audio than anything else, but I definitely prefer reading physical. So for Malazan, it's physical whenever possible, unless I just like can't put it down. Need to get more.
Some books
One
you
more
just can't do
chapter.
on audio.
What's that?
Some books I just can't do on audio, and Malazan's one of those. So
I
Gene
gave
Wolfe.
up on the Iliad audio. It was impossible.
Hmm.
My brain was like just not taking any of it in.
I can see that. I do all of them, sort of, but okay. I used to read a lot of different books at the same time, not out of any real reason other than the fact that I was very disorganized, and I lived both in a relatively large house, definitely bigger than the 2-bedroom apartment I'm in now, and it would just misplace books everywhere. So I would just have to just be okay with not reading a book for a while I found it. So I just started another book. And yeah, I would have just like 5 or 6 books going on at the same time. Now that it's pretty much physically impossible for me to lose a book, I generally stick to 1 or 2. I have to do 2 now that it's doing the podcast because, I would just be reading Malazan for the next 2 years if not.
I'm reading Carcass right now. So
Yes. I also, I enjoy audio, but also I hate doing it for the first read. So I like audio for rereads, and it lets me get a new perspective on things.
I do like doing audio on rereads. I found I reread the majority of Murderbot on audio, and that was really entertaining. But I normally don't do audio. It's typically physical and then sometimes ebook. I just love physical books, so that's my
They smell
preferred
good.
format. Yeah, and I like seeing my books. Sometimes I'll just stare at my shelves.
Oh yeah, I realized I didn't answer the physical thing. I do both. I do physical and an ebook. I had to do more
Mm.
Yeah,
ebook
same.
because I have 0 space now. Also, moving is just hell with lots of books.
Well, if
Yeah.
I want to read at night, I have to read on the Kindle because I live with someone. So every physical book that I have like top priority, I have to have it on ebook too.
Oh wow. So do you annotate? Because I mean, like for the podcast, right? Like especially with Malazan, I know we all take notes in our own different ways, and some of us are a bit more extreme. But do you normally annotate when you read?
No.
If I'm not doing a YouTube video or a podcast, no.
Yeah, same. I don't.
Oh.
Sometimes I wish I did. But,
Nonfiction, I do.
Yeah.
I was really impressed when you showed me your annotation scheme, Panda. That was wild stuff.
It's a little overkill. I'm cutting it back.
For Gardens of the Moon, because I had a lot of free time, I was underlining literally every single person,
Oh, wow.
pronouns and
Yeah.
everything, and I was writing summaries of each chapter, and then
Mhm.
I was updating a Google Sheets I had of every character and their characteristics. I'm not doing that anymore. Now I'm just making highlights in my book.
Are you gonna at least contribute the garden stuff to the wiki?
I think it's everything's already there. Like that's
Okay.
what kind of convinced me to stop doing it.
Mm,
I'd look in there like, oh, that's written down already. I guess I'm just
Okay.
wasting my time.
I haven't really checked out the wiki in fear of spoilers, so
Yeah, very
Don't.
dangerous place if you haven't read the series.
yeah. I don't normally annotate. And when I do, it's usually for a purpose like book club or podcast, or it's nonfiction, and I actually want to like be able to reference back. This next question: how did we get started on the Green Team podcast? And I think people may be surprised to know that the 4 of us didn't actually really know each other before starting the Malazan series. The only exception is probably Ashaman and Hurin.
Mm-hmm.
You and I did quite a
Because,
few episodes before.
well, Hurin and I did a few episodes before. Jasnah and I did Jade City together and Goblin Emperor. But we really didn't know each other as like people aside from discussing books.
Mm-hmm.
Except Hurin and Ashaman, you were in a D&D campaign
Yeah,
together.
I DM'd for him. Yeah.
That's fun. We need to do it again.
Yeah. Oh man. Like I honestly, if I could, I would be doing at least 5 campaigns, maybe more.
Oh my goodness.
I
At the
have
same
good at it.
time?
At the same time, yeah, I was doing 3 at a time for a while there, but like obviously that's just not feasible if you have other things that you're doing.
Yes.
Well, okay, I was DMing 3 and then participating in another, so sort of 4.
Oh my goodness.
This
But-
used to be me before I had kids.
Yeah, it's just you can't. Yeah, yeah, if I could just devote more time to it, I absolutely would. I love GMing. I want to try a lot of systems out. Right now, like the one I want to try out most is Warhammer Fantasy, but
Nerd.
it's less possible. I know. All right.
I want to run a Malazan campaign in the Reign system. It's got rules for like running organizations and countries and stuff. So
I roleplayed a Jag Hut in our game.
Yep.
A very potty mouth filled Jack Hut, probably.
No, that was Little Red Book. I was just usually making potty humor jokes.
And
Hey Ash, if you ever want to take over GMing, I have a bi-weekly group that I would love to be a player in.
Yeah, I'm sure you would.
Yeah, I'm sick of being the forever DM.
Yeah, such is the pain, isn't it?
I have so many ideas for characters. Can't use them.
Okay, to get back to how we got started on this. The Green Team, for those that don't know, we are all patrons of the Legendarium podcast. They're the professionals, and they've been doing this for many years. Craig and Ryan are the co-founders, and we all met because we just love the Legendarium and joined their Discord. And then one day, somehow, one of the patrons decided to start a spin-off podcast, and one thing led to another, and now we're here.
There's a little bit more to that story. I was there when it was founded. I think
while I was asleep.
Yeah. So Craig, once upon a time, used to provide benefits for patrons. I know, it seems unrealistic now. But he would do a live stream every week or so. We did The Expanse and then a few more, and then it kind of petered out because, it got busy and also coronavirus. But on one of the live streams, Craig mentioned that he actually wanted to grow his media empire out. And then the people chatting in there were like, hey, maybe we should just start a podcast together. And we could we could just be like the side podcast of Legendarium, and there's a bunch of ideas in the Green Team. And
yes,
Horizon
because
was one primarily.
The main podcasts have two teams, one blue team, one red team, and that's why we're the Green Team, apparently.
Yeah, and it kind of just snowballed from there. A bunch of the patrons actually wanted to join, and since then we've had a lot of fantastic additions. But it was just kind of like a very whimsical, impulsive decision. There wasn't really much thought put behind it.
Well, more specifically, why did we start to cover the Malazan series for the Green Team podcast? Hurin?
So when I woke up one day and everyone was talking about starting a podcast, I thought, oh, this is my chance to talk about Malazan. And if you notice, our first episode, I think, was Horizon Brave just talking by himself. Our first actual episode was why you should read Malazan, and that was my idea. And ever since we did that, I was just I want to do a read through. I really want to do a read through, and I was just trying to get some interest in it. Ash was interested, and then I was so happy when Panda joined, and then finally Jasnah.
Yeah, it was just me and you gonna do it for months there, though.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure still would have been fun, but we wouldn't have the massive 3.5-hour long episodes that I'm sure our listeners would come to love.
Yeah, your episodes would probably just complete spoilers.
It actually might have been that, yeah.
I think what we would have done is probably just the first part was non-spoilers, and then the second part was spoilers.
Yeah, probably. Something like that.
Yeah, if listeners haven't listened to the Malazan primer, check that one out, and you'll learn more about how I decided to be a newbie part of this group and take on this journey and join this journey.
One of us.
For a more silly question, which hobbit would we each be from Lord of the Rings, do you think?
Frodo.
You would be Frodo?
Yeah, I would be Frodo. I'm not a big fan of that idea, but yeah.
I think I could see that.
Yeah.
I think I would be Sam, actually.
Oh, yeah, you would be the best one, of course.
Just carrying you along. You can do this, Ash.
We would make a good couple of companions going to destroy the ring, I think. We balance each other out.
Yeah, you like the sad and depressing stuff, and I'm just no, give me all the positive, happy things.
No, I'm super melancholy.
I would be Bandor Bristuk, also known as the Bull Roarer, who invented golf by hitting a goblin's head into a hole.
He was,
He was really tall, and I believe he could ride a horse.
Yeah, he was the first Hobbit to be able to ride a horse, I think.
Oh, nice.
I
For
guess that
yes,
leaves me with like Mary, right?
I was actually thinking Mary or Pippin, yeah, but I have only seen the movie version, so I don't know what the book versions would be like.
Well, he's not Fatty Bulger. So,
Hey,
I don't know
Boulder.
who that is.
he is their fat friend that stayed behind.
Oh,
Yeah. Although he's actually a really good guy. He just didn't.
We
wanna,
have we have a co-op board game of the books, and just so there could be a fifth player, if there's 5 people, one of them's Fatty Bulger.
oh
I could be
man.
Goldilocks because I wish Sam was my dad.
Oh, yeah. Sam looks. Sean Astin. He just seems like a great dad. I was convinced of that in Stranger Things.
Okay, so I had put this next one out as a joke. It was, how many fingers does Hurin have on his left hand? And I was just pulling from Princess Bride. But how many do you have, Hurin?
7.
7.
7. The 7-fingered man. Yeah.
Yes. And Red Army Ian also wanted to know how many fingers you have on your left foot.
0. I have toes.
Oh, okay. 0 fingers. Okay, so moving into the listener questions. We got quite a few from Lady Sweden, which is Green Team's #1 fan.
Oh yeah, she's great. She gets to listen to all those early and is essentially the cheerleader for the group. Lady Sweden, we love you. You're the best.
We do love you. She asks, what is the most surprising thing you've learned about the other panelists?
Panda likes Renaissance fairs.
I do.
I like that.
Yay. I'm hoping to be able to go this summer. We'll see.
I was surprised that Huron wasn't a weeb. Because, like, why would an American move to Japan if not for the anime? And apparently there's a reason. I haven't heard it yet.
I like video games. To some, that might make me a weeb.
Yeah. More mainstream weeb, though.
Other things? Anyone?
I was surprised to learn that Jasnah is, like, one very short step away from being a hardcore revolutionary.
And well, those days are past.
I think it's more for me. I didn't really know what I was getting myself into, like, aside from we're gonna read books and we're gonna talk about them. And so it's not any like particular thing that is surprising, but it's more of how the 4 of us have been able to form this relationships, this community over the course of, the 5 months because of these books. And I mean, there are things that I've shared with the 4 of you, the 3 of you, that I don't normally talk about with people I actually know in real life. And these, like, about bi-weekly, because we record once every 2 weeks, these little sessions have become a real highlight in my life, and I really look forward to them. So, yeah.
I concur.
I made a heart with my hands.
Lady Sweden is our biggest fan, but I'm the second biggest fan.
I think I was surprised. I've been most surprised by how how generous Befuddled Panda is to people she does not know.
She's a giver.
She
That
got
is
me
my
this
love
microphone
language.
here, and she helped Christine Volestad out as well.
For Jasnah, it was a bit selfish of me because I wanted you to be part of our little recording group for Malazan, and yeah, I wanted you to be able to have good audio quality. So
It's definitely better with 2 new readers and 2 old readers.
yes, yeah, he keeps me company, and he picks up things that I don't pick up, and we can still speculate with each other. So I appreciate that.
Now, if only he wasn't spoiled about important things every other month. Oh, you can dream.
Okay, so we kind of answered this one, but Lady Sweden did ask what is everyone's favorite book, and you cannot answer anything Malazan related. So if you could pick one, I know it's really hard. What would you pick?
It's easy for me.
Yeah?
I'm lumping this as one book because it really should be. The Book of the New Sun by Gene Wolfe. It's probably the best thing I've ever read, and I'm also 0% qualified to talk about it. It is so very, very smart. Not because, like, it's difficult to really dig into, not because Gene Wolfe was trying to make it hard. It's just his thinking was just on another level, and we're trying to, like, us mere mortals are trying to understand the genius of that man.
This week, I just bought a copy of that in Japanese.
Oh, nice.
Oh,
I imagine
Oh.
that's a difficult book to translate.
Yeah, I started the first page, and yeah.
For those who don't know, it's Gene Wolfe uses language he uses a lot of words that are obscure, and I guarantee you, if you read the series, you will not understand at least a handful of words, even if you're like an English major specializing in forgotten dialects.
Maybe one day I'll get to it.
My favorite book is definitely The Tale of Scrody McBoogerballs by Butterscotch.
Is that a real book?
It's the book that the four main characters of South Park created, and they blamed Butters for writing it. It was allegedly so disgusting that nobody could make it past the first page without vomiting.
Oh my god. It does sound like a book you would like.
It was praised for its artistic genius. But no,
Mm,
seriously, Lord of the Rings is my favorite book, next to Malazan.
very nice. Especially from your username.
Hmm.
Yeah, Hurin.
Which I misinterpreted when I first read it.
Did you think it was Wheel of Time?
I did.
I like Wheel of Time. I mean, Huron's okay.
Yeah.
He didn't
So you're
slay
not a
70
Huron
trolls.
fan.
What about you, Jasnah?
So I'd have to either say Words of Radiance by Brandon Sanderson or A Little Hatred by Joe Abercrombie. I cheated and picked two.
That's okay.
Me too.
If I say like what my childhood favorite book is, it would be Ella Enchanted by Gail Carson Levine. And then more recently, I do love the Red Rising original trilogy. I've only read Iron Gold from the continued saga, which I will continue the rest of it once I know when the third book is coming out. But yes, I do love those books.
Ella Enchanted is a wonderfully campy movie.
I do love the movie too.
Mm-hmm.
Very tangential. Would you consider Red Rising to be YA?
No.
Okay.
The first book, Red Rising, I can see why it's YA, but after that it gets into very not YA, especially with Iron Gold.
Okay.
Okay, moving on down the list with Lady Sweden's questions. If you got to be a tourist in the Malazan world and visit one place, where would you go and why? I know where I would not want to go.
There's a lot of places.
Otatara Mines.
I guess the only place, oh no, that would be a spoiler. This would be spoilers. I didn't think this through.
I want to go to Mottwood. I think it'd be fun.
I'm pretty sure the
chill-
Bull Brothers
chill
probably
place.
excellent hospitality, as long as you're not a sorcerer.
Yeah, now that you said that, mine was a spoiler for Memories of Ice.
Yeah.
Is yours
Somewhere in
also
the
Memories of Ice?
Yes.
Oh god, we probably have the same answer. A
Yeah.
certain tavern in Darujistan. There.
Yes.
Now
Okay.
you can
I
edit
love that answer. Yes. I would go
Yeah.
there too.
I have 3 answers.
hmm
If I was being a cultured boy and wanting to go to a boring, interesting city like Europe, like cities in Europe, I would pick Darujistan because it just seems like the nicest place we've seen so far. There's lighting and parties going on, which I assume would be pretty fun. If I was going to a city that I would just like, it would be Coral. For reasons I mentioned in the last episode. And if I was going just so I could have a good time away from everybody, to just like recharge my batteries, Curled Ghislaine, the Warren of Darkness. Just nice and dark and quiet and no one's there.
Man, I like all
That's
those
a good
answers.
answer.
Thank you.
Yeah. I'll stick with Yasna and go to that certain tavern in Darujistan.
They're gonna think we're talking about a different tavern. Because
It's
there's
okay.
2.
There's 3.
Wow, there's more than 3 taverns in Darujistan. It's a city
Wow.
of many taverns.
There are 3
There's
named
2
ones,
that
I
you might
believe.
want to visit.
Next question. Favorite off-episode moment of this journey you are on together? Do we have any?
Not the time that Jasnah said he got spoiled for the end of the series, and not the time that Jasnah said he got spoiled for events coming up in the book, and not for the time Yasna got spoiled for the end of the series.
Okay.
I it's not any single event. I just kind of like reading Yasna and Panda's
Oh yeah,
like
They're little-
messages as
yeah.
they're reading.
yeah. Sometimes they
I
put
can just
messages in the
snicker to
chat,
myself
figuring things out or trying to figure things out at least, and it's always very fun to
and
read.
failing.
We use the meme of Charlie from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, where he's like doing
Yes.
like the conspiracy theory newspaper clippings on the clipboard thing a lot to describe me and Panda trying to figure things out. Especially when we're both arguing and we're both right, and at the end of like an hour long discussion, we realize we're both right.
Yes. Yes, I have to agree. It is very fun. Like I said, like I can just throw things out there, but usually Ashaman and Hurin can't say anything or
Mhm.
won't say anything, right? Because you know too much. But Yasna's free to go ahead and say, no, you're wrong, and here's why, and present information that I can evaluate. Be like, oh, okay, I can see
Oh.
why.
I actually have a better answer now.
Oh, yeah?
It was our pre-interview talk with Steven Erickson.
Oh, yes.
There was a
Yeah.
particular anecdote I found quite humorous.
Yes. And we're just going to leave it at that.
Yep.
Starcast asks, if you could pressure one panelist or Discord member into reading a specific book, who and which book, and maybe even why? Okay, don't say Malazan because that's too easy.
Boring, yeah.
To really want Craig and the crew to read Malazan. I would make Kip read something that I know he would hate because I think it'd be
Yeah.
funny.
I mean, he does hate read, and
He
he'll
hates
let the
read a lot.
server know.
Oh yeah, he'll let everyone know what he thinks of a bad book.
And it's pretty entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
We were gonna make Ashaman, well, I was gonna make Ashaman read a romance book.
I still have that on the docket.
Yes. Which one did you pick?
Oh, it was the Bejeweled
Alex
one,
and
I think.
Ada? Oh, Bejeweled. Okay.
The one that Red recommended.
Okay. Beguilement, I think, maybe?
Yes, that's the one.
Mm.
And I'm going
I
to be
haven't read
reading it with Lady Ash.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Very nice. What about you, Yasna?
Hmm.
Are you gonna make me read Abercrombie?
Yeah, that was what I was thinking about going for, but then I was also like, Christine Valestad's in the server. Can I make her read something? But no, that's too easy. So yeah, I was gonna say probably getting you to read Best Served Cold by Joe Abercrombie.
I'll do it.
Just an excellent entry point for those who may not want to commit to a trilogy. You know?
I would like someone else on the green team to read Sandman so I can do a Sandman podcast.
I would do that.
Mm,
Yeah.
I've been
Sandman
wanting
is
to read it
so
for a while.
good. Oh, I
it is on my
cannot
list.
recommend it highly enough for people who like both Neil Gaiman stuff and good comic graphic novels.
I read a bit of Gaiman, but I haven't gotten to Sandman, so maybe we'll chat later. The four of us can chat later. Okay. Next question. Kiptan asks, what has a fellow panelist empathized with in Malazan that informed how you see them? He comes in with a very deep question.
Don't
Okay.
worry, I have a joke answer.
Oh, go ahead.
Ash and the Emas, because it's good to know where everyone stands on genocide.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, no.
That was gonna be my answer.
I was gonna say Hurin for his staunch support of the Jaghead.
I'm a Jag.
He stands for
Sympathizer?
Jaghead.
Yeah, I guess probably the first thing that comes to mind that's not about the politics of the Jaghead IMAS wars is Ashaman's willingness to like view the Malazan Empire sympathetically and to view like Lycian's actions sympathetically, especially like early on in the series. Because that got us talking about, you know, the Roman Empire and Roman history and all kinds of other imperial histories, and that was informative.
Yeah, a lot of good discussions there.
This is kind of the opposite, but I am not surprised at all that Yasna doesn't like Lady Envy.
Oh, really? Why do you say that?
She's just a
Elitist.
yeah. That's a good way of putting it. She's bourgeoisie.
Hmm.
But that's not how I would describe her.
Really?
I would just say that she's just she's so removed from everyday life that she doesn't even like see like basic
One might
things
say
that she should do.
she's like a class above, and she's
Yeah,
less
okay, I
concerned
see
with-
where you're
yeah.
going with the metaphor, all right, but like, you know, it
Yeah,
works
you're
only
just helping
metaphorically.
you're just helping my argument.
All right.
Um,
But she's not inactive. She's very active. She does things. She's just, you know, she's pampered.
mm. I think my answer is our discussion about like Felison. I think that was the first real like heavy topic that we tackled as a group. And Ash, your contributions to the conversation was very helpful for me to process Felison's perspective and character. And Hurin too, but both of you were very you presented a more sympathetic view, and that helped my reading experience of that character.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have difficulty with Felison, especially in the first read.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I hated her the first read, to be honest, and I was glad that when I read her sympathetically this time that everybody else did, and it wasn't really controversial on the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
It would be very controversial elsewhere in the fandom, but yeah, not here.
Yeah, I got into an argument earlier today on Discord with somebody about it.
Oh no. So those are all the set questions. Anybody else have anything to say before we sign off?
Read Carcanus.
Yes,
Read Carcanus.
Read Carcanus. Enjoy it. You're not allowed to dislike it.
I have to wait till after the crippled god.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, well, you don't technically have to wait. I don't think there's like big spoilers.
Don't do
I
it.
think that was a joke. Don't do it.
I wouldn't recommend it, but like it's not going to spoil the end of the series.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, I already had that spoiled for me.
Oh no.
Oh, maybe the advice I can give to everybody: do not go into YouTube comments, which is just
Or-
generally good life advice.
Or watch YouTube videos from Malazan people without first asking them, is this spoiler free? Because they
Oh.
don't always say.
Yeah, the Legendary Discord has a very, very, very good spoiler policy, and we're very good about spoilers here. So when we venture out into the wide world, you can sometimes forget that there's a lot of not that out there.
That's some other advice. If you're reading Eyes, don't expect Erickson.
Yes, they are
that's good
different
advice.
authors. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
And when you're reading Carcanus, don't expect Book of the Fallen.
Yes.
But don't skip Ice because his stuff is awesome. I really like it. And my expectations were lowered drastically by Malazan fans. And then I read Nine of Knives and I was just like blown away by it.
Nice. I haven't read his stuff yet, but I
There's a lot
We'll
that can
get
be
to it.
said about the Ice Erickson divide that we will not get into here.
Okay, sounds like it's a good time to end this episode. Hopefully this was enjoyable and helped listeners get to know us a bit better. If you want to join the read along and or contribute listener questions, check us out on the Legendarium's Discord. You can find the link on thelegendarium.com. Also follow us on Twitter at Green Team Pod for updates and fun times. Check out the Legendarium podcast for Wheel of Time, Cosmere, Lord of the Rings content, and so much more. The Malazan crew is signing off. Until next time. Bye!
Nice, Jan.
I'm gonna kick out the Craig bots.
Hi, Craigs.
Get out of here.
Get out.
Here.
Hey, we're podcasting here.